Hi, I'm Mike Oglesby, the owner and founder of Maximized Mind Hypnotherapy and Coaching in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I want to talk with you today about the theory of mind, the process of change, and how hypnotherapy works to create that change in the conscious and the subconscious mind. So let's begin with the theory of mind. The mind is separated into two major categories: your conscious mind, which is about 10% of who you are. The main characteristics of the conscious mind are willpower, analyzation, and rationalization. Then we have the subconscious mind, the second major category of the mind. The subconscious mind makes up about 90% of who you are. Your strategies, your habits, your impulses, your physiological control, but also your thought patterns, your emotions, your imagination, your belief systems, and your paradigms. They all exist in the subconscious mind. Also in the subconscious mind, we have the primitive or unconscious mind, which is responsible for your fight or flight. It's also responsible for your bodily functions, making your heart beat, your blood flow, and all of the systems, ensuring that they function properly. Now, these two major categories are separated by the critical mind. The critical mind is a filtration system. It holds approximately 35 to 40 minutes worth of information or input, and it is responsible for either allowing in or pushing out things from the subconscious mind that you take in through the conscious mind. Now, one of the biggest attributes of the conscious mind is your ability to choose. The decision-making process in the conscious mind is what makes the conscious mind a very, very powerful tool. So your subconscious mind is what we call your program. This is where basically everything about you that exists about you, all of your learnings, everything that's ever happened in your life is stored in the subconscious mind. It then presents these ideas and thought patterns to the conscious mind, which then stimulates emotions. We're going to go over what we call the process of change and how the process of change actually interacts with the conscious and subconscious mind. So let's talk about the process of change. Typically, when someone goes out and tries to work on the results or tries to change their actions or behaviors so that they can have something different, what they're looking for is actually a different experience. Well, I want to teach you how experiences are created, because a lot of people believe that experiences are created from events, situations, or circumstances, but they're not. And here's how I'll explain that. When an event takes place, say you and 20 other people around you experience that event, you all walk away with a different experience. And here's why. I have a simple equation, E plus IR equals EXP. And what that stands for is the event plus your internal representation, which stands for associations and relationships, create your experience. Now, every event that you experience is a neutral event. Good, bad, right, wrong, those are just interpretations and associations to the event. But the event itself is neutral. What you attach to the event through your perception, through the associations, or through your relationship to the event is actually how you gain your experience. So if you want to change your experience with something, it is not the event that has to be changed, it's the relationship to the event. The subconscious mind thinks in pictures and stories. It is the language of the subconscious mind. And change only happens by changing the program, okay? Because the relationship that you have with the event is based on your program in the subconscious mind. So in order to change that internal representation so that you can gain a different experience, you have to go down into the subconscious mind to change the program, which is your association and relationship to that event. Now, typically, we see willpower at work here. We go out and we try to change our habits, or we try to change our behaviors in order to change our experiences. And sometimes this can work if we have enough willpower and enough self-discipline, because when we repeatedly change our actions or our behaviors to create new events, eventually what we can do is we can work that from actions, behaviors, through the thought patterns and emotions, and we can change that experience because we can change the program. But that's a very difficult thing to do because, as you see, we're actually working against the natural flow of how we create things and experiences in our life. The correct and easy way to do this is to simply go to the story or the program, which then we change it here, will create new thought patterns, which then will stimulate new emotions, which then will act and behave based on those thoughts and emotions, which is where we create the new results. But working with willpower actually works upstream, and that's why it's so difficult, because it goes against the natural progression of how we create events and internal representations and our experiences in life. So let's look at the actual process of change and what takes place on a physical level in the brain when we talk about change. So what exactly is change? Change is both a physical and a mental process. Let's talk about the physical process. Now this picture here demonstrates what we call synapses, which is a connection between two nerve cells in the brain. I think about this as a roadway system. When you have a stimulus that comes in, that's your point A. And where it leads you, which is your reaction, your experience with it, is your point B. And in order to create change, we don't have to recreate the structure of the point A. We just have to recreate where that point A takes us so that we end up at a different point B. Change is a process that creates new neural pathways. So we're no longer going from A to B over here. We're going from A to B over here, which gives us a different response and a different experience. Now, the process of creating new neural pathways in the brain, which is what change actually is, takes approximately 13 weeks. Now, this is a physical growth, if you will, or a transition in the brain of creating a new neural pathway or a new connection between neural pathway. So when stimulus comes in, it creates a synapsis, which is a connection between two nerve cells. Think about it as an electrical discharge. And it charges from A and it goes to B. An electrical discharge in the brain is what a synapsis is. And a little fun fact for habits. A lot of people think it's 3 weeks, maybe 28 days to create a new habit. But habits can be created as little as 18 days and as much as 254 days. But the average time it takes to create new habits is 66 days. And it really depends on what habit it is you're trying to recreate and how closely related to your program and paradigm that already exists that it is. And that's really going to determine the length of time that it creates, or that it takes for you to create a new habit. So let's talk about hypnosis and how hypnotherapy actually works with this system and the process of change and why it works so effectively. Hypnotherapy is a process of bypassing the conscious mind, going through the critical mind, and delivering suggestions straight to the subconscious mind, or the program. When we talk about problems, we are typically referring to symptoms. And here's what I mean. Someone comes in to me and they say, I've got social anxiety. And we discover that sometime in 7th grade, they were humiliated in a crowd. So now, over time, over the past 30 years, they've developed social anxiety. Well, there's a purpose for that anxiety. And the reason for that anxiety is to keep you out of the crowds, because it has now formed a relationship with crowds that equals humiliation. So it's a potential danger or threat. So the subconscious mind sees or relates to crowds as a potential danger or threat for humiliation, so it develops a symptom of anxiety, which works very well to keep you out of crowds. So going into the subconscious mind, working with that program that says crowds are dangerous because they equal humiliation, by going in there and tackling that program, we then alleviate the symptoms of the social anxiety. And it works like this for most all problems. Some are more intricate and some are more deep woven than others. Some are more layered than others. But the process is always the same. We go to the subconscious mind where the program that's creating those outcomes and results exists, and we change it there to create new outcomes and new results for you. Now there's two primary types of hypnosis. You have clinical, which is more of the medical aspect of things, and that's where a clinical hypnotherapist, such as what I do. And then you have the stage or entertainment. This is more of like what you see on TV or going to a hypnosis show and seeing people get up on stage and do really crazy and funny things. And both forms of hypnosis are very real and they're very effective. But the difference is between entertaining people and helping people. And Maximized Mind, we work with clinical hypnotherapy to help people achieve goals, overcome obstacles, and change the symptoms and the results that they're producing in their life. So let's talk about more of the scientific aspect of what hypnosis or what's taking place in what we call a state of clinical hypnosis is. So we have an EEG chart. We have the 4 basic brain waves, and we begin with the beta brainwave. This is your normal alertness, normal awake conscious state. And you can see the brain waves are much more rapid. Now there is a brainwave above this called the gamma, and this takes place whenever you get scared or when you're panicked. And that sort of thing, or when you're really, really excited, you hit the gamma. But then you have the alpha, and this is where your brain waves start to slow down a bit. The alpha is when you are relaxed, or when you're calm, lucid, not thinking. It's also the first stage of something like meditation or something like that. And it takes place whenever you begin to relax yourself, like reading a book, or watching a movie, or going for a long distance drive. As you move into the lower states of alpha, you'll find that it's associated with amnesia. When you get to reading that book and you forgot the paragraph you just read, that's a state of amnesia because you've lowered your brainwaves into the alpha. Or if you're going for a long distance drive and you forgot the roads, that's also associated with that lower state of alpha. And then watching a movie and it seeming like it lasts longer or a shorter time period than it did, that's also that lower alpha. When you get into they slow down a little bit more and you get into the theta brainwave state. Now this is the brainwave state. This is what we call the gateway. And your brainwaves are slowed down even more. This takes place when you're in deep meditation or when you're imagining things. You go on a daydream or something like that. And it's also whenever you sleep at night and you dream, you're actually in the theta brainwave state. And then we have the lowest or slowest brainwave state, the delta. This is associated with a deep dreamless sleep. It's also associated when you get sick and your body sleeps a lot. It goes into this delta brainwave state. Or if you've ever known anyone or heard of someone being induced into a coma in the hospital, the reason for that is to put them into the delta brainwave state because your body actually has an enhanced state of healing. So your body can heal 3 to 7 times faster when it's in this delta brainwave state. Now, clinical hypnosis starts right when you hit that alpha. So this is something that happens to you all the time. Now during your day, you're going to go from beta to alpha to theta and back and forth all day long. So you're actually going into clinical states of hypnosis each and every day throughout your entire day. But the thing about the alpha state and below is that once you hit that alpha, you are up to 10 times, or I'm sorry, you are up to 200 times more suggestible. Now think about that. Your brain can take in much more information as it slows down. Okay, it's very, very powerful once you hit that alpha, and that's typically the only state that we have to get a person in order to deliver those suggestions in a state of hypnotherapy or when we're doing hypnosis in the office here. So there's 2 primary classifications of subjects. Okay, we have analyticals and we have non-analyticals. Now, by nature, I'm a very analytical thinker, but I'm very non-analytical when it comes to suggestibility and hypnosis. And here's the difference. Your non-analytical people can relax very easily, and your analytical people, they don't relax very easily. So there's 2 different primary ways that we deal with those people when putting them into a state of hypnosis. Relaxing people into hypnosis that are analyticals doesn't work very well. They don't enjoy relaxing. So we give them a mental task. And the way that I like to talk about this is imagine the subconscious mind and the doorway to get into that subconscious mind. And beside that doorway you have a guard. And there's two primary ways we can get past that guard. We can give them a really boring story, or what we call a relaxation induction, and relax him until he falls asleep. Or we can throw a ball in the corner. And while he's over there getting the ball and doing his thing, we can go into the subconscious mind and deliver the suggestions. Those are the two primary ways in clinical hypnotherapy that we induce a person into a state of hypnosis. Now, then we have the instant and rapid inductions, and those work for everyone. However, they're not typically something that we do in a clinical setting. Now, a lot of people think that they can't be hypnotized, but these three ways are the different ways to hypnotize anyone who's comprehensible enough to understand suggestions and understand what they're being told. So let's talk about the process of a hypnotherapy session and what that looks like when you're sitting in the office and you're about to go into a state of hypnosis to create that change in your life. So here at Maximize Mind, we use a traditional 5-part process for our hypnotherapy sessions. The first part is the induction, and this is designed to induce you into a lower brainwave state or into a clinical state of hypnosis. Now, once we've done that, we want to try to get you as deep in those brain waves as possible. So for those who are non-analytical and relax very easily, we use a deepener. Those who do not relax very easily and are analytical, we use an analytical vehicle. The means to the end is different, but the end is the same. We want you as deep in those brainwaves as we can possibly get you. That's when we deliver the script. Now, this is the change agent. This is the new program or the overriding change program that we're delivering, so that, when we talked about the synapses going from point A to point B, this script is the part that gets you from point A to a different point B. This is the program, the new program going in. Now, once we've successfully delivered that, we move into an amnesia or double bind technique. This is a technique that is designed to confuse the conscious mind to prevent self-sabotage. I kind of think about it as waking up from a dream, and the more you try to think about that dream, the further away it gets and the harder it is to remember. That's kind of how the amnesia technique works. It just confuses the conscious mind so that it kind of forgets the details of what we've said, so that you don't go and self-sabotage. Because all we're really working with here is new suggestions. And you have the control, so by going in and picking those things apart, you can actually take away all the work that we've done. And then once we've done that, we move into the trance termination. This is where we end the session. This is where we pull you out of those brain waves and pull you back up into those beta brain waves with a trance termination technique. Now, let me describe a typical hypnotherapy session with Maximize Mind. The client is typically in a chair or laid down in maybe a recliner with headphones and an eye mask on. And the reason for that is to get them out of this physical world. We are really focused on the mental aspect here, and that's a lot easier to achieve when we have an eye mask and we have some earphones to kind of block out any visual or auditory distractions. Now, I am sitting at my desk talking into a microphone that loops through my computer and into a digital recording studio so that I can record each of these processes live. Now, at the conclusion of the session, I then mix the recording down, and I either burn it onto a CD or I put it onto the person's smartphone, whatever's most convenient for that person. And that's a traditional, typical session, hypnotherapy session with Maximize Mind. Let's talk about some common questions that I receive surrounding hypnosis and hypnotherapy. Number one is, can I be hypnotized? Now, each person has a different degree or level of suggestibility, but as long as a person can comprehend and understand what's being said to them or being asked of them, then they are able to be hypnotized. This is a scientific process. It's not based on belief. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or think it would work for you or don't believe that it would work or that you can't be hypnotized. Those are all false because they're all based on an understanding that's not the reality of what hypnosis or hypnotherapy is. We're talking about deliberately lowering brain waves. And if you go to sleep at night, your brain waves are going down. So to say or to think that you can't be hypnotized is virtually impossible as a human. Number two, do I lose control when under hypnosis? The answer is absolutely not. In fact, the process of going into hypnosis or hypnotherapy is a process that gives you or delivers you more control over your life, your lifestyle, your choices, and your thoughts. Can I be hypnotized to do something I don't want to do? Absolutely not. You never lose your ability to control who you are, your belief systems, and what you would and would not do. Now, a lot of people think about stage hypnosis, but you have to remember, when it comes to stage hypnosis, these people went out to a show to be entertained and chose to partake in the show as participants. It is completely consensual. So no, you can't actually be hypnotized to do something that you wouldn't normally do. Can I get stuck in hypnosis? Remember, we're talking about a process of lowering the brainwaves. This is something you go through all the time. You cannot get stuck in hypnosis. It is virtually impossible to get stuck in those lower brainwave states. Does hypnosis work for everyone? To the degree of the level of suggestibility of the person, hypnosis does work for everyone. But again, it all depends on the level of suggestibility, and it also depends on the person and their willingness to accept and to really buy into that process of the suggestions given to them. And number 6, how effective is hypnosis? Hypnosis is the most effective, most efficient form of psychology in the world, hands down. However, again, this is a complete consensual therapy that depends on the person and their participation, and that's really what's going to deliver the level of effectiveness for the individual. So that is an individualized aspect, but it does work for everyone, and it is effective for everyone who allows themselves to be an active participant in that type of program. I want to take a moment to thank you for watching this video. I hope it was informative, and I hope I answered your questions and gave you some clarity about the theory of mind, the process of change, and how hypnotherapy actually helps to create that change. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'd be more than happy to entertain any kind of thoughts or ideas or questions that you may have. Or you can reach out to me at mike@maximizemind.com. And I'd be more than happy to talk with you more in depth and in detail. And if there's anything that we can do here at Maximize Mind, please reach out. Again, thank you so much for watching. Be well.